Commander, let me show you how to have the best start in Elite Dangerous Odyssey. This is my highly requested, completely and totally updated for 2023 Beginner's Money Making Guide. If you just freshly installed Elite Dangerous Odyssey onto your computer, the very best piece of advice I could give you is don't just jump into open or create a private group or play in solo. What you want to do instead is go over to the training section and check that out first. Now I tell you, Elite Dangerous isn't a game that you just jump right into without any knowledge and expect to have fun, because the experience is basically going to suck. Instead of just kind of trying to flounder around and figure out the basics, what you want to do is check out some of these training simulations and do some of these challenge scenarios. Definitely take the time to check out these training videos. They will further your knowledge of how the game mechanics actually work in Elite Dangerous Odyssey. You will definitely want to complete your pilot assessment. This actually teaches you how to fly around from point A to point B, land and take off, things like that. That's very important in Elite Dangerous. If I had to do this in any particular order, I'd recommend that you watch the training videos, then do the pilot assessment, do the training simulations, the challenge scenarios, and then we were going to be doing the surface operation. Once you have completed checking out the training section, you are ready to play Elite Dangerous Odyssey. You are now an official commander as well as the owner of an awesome sidewinder. Mine's called Space Tissue 1. The very first thing you're going to notice as a noob is you're going to have a Welcome to the Galaxy mission. Go ahead and complete that. This will give you a little bit more practice taking off, then flying from point A to point B, then landing. Once you complete that mission, complete the next one for 100k. Once you have completed those two tasks, Commander, well, you're ready to take the big dive into the deep end that is Elite Dangerous Odyssey. Time to earn a little starting credit so we can get ourselves into a better ship. Now, this part can actually be done in the newbie safe area in Drami at a high extraction resource site. I highly recommend that you do it there if you insist on playing in open as a brand new player to Elite Dangerous Odyssey, because you won't get ganked there. Since I no longer have access to the newbie section, I'm actually going to be doing this in the Nanabozaho system at a high resource extraction site here. Alright, last warning, if you decided to skip the training missions, a lot of what I'm going to be doing isn't going to make sense to you, so definitely check that out first. Man, love flying through space in this game. Once you drop into the resource extraction site, you want to put all pips to engines, then immediately head towards any laser fire that you might see. It's also extremely important that you make sure you fully scan your target before you lay the smack down upon them, because, you know, if you start beefing on them before that scan goes off, they are going to treat you like you stole every single donut they owned from them. They're going to lay the complete and total smack down upon you, because, you know, even though the dude's evil, you shot him before you knew he was evil, so, you know, sucks to be you. Ultimately, what I'm doing is I'm biding my time. I already waited for his shields to go down. Now I'm just waiting for his hull to get down low enough to where I can start laying the smack upon him. Basically, we're flying around in a box of flying space tissues. That thing is an anaconda right there, and all it has to do is barely look at us and sneeze, so we need to wait till it's about 30% hull before we let him have it. Doing it this way ensures that all the other space popos and good guys that wanted to chip in on this fight right here definitely have the aggro. My little pew-pews won't really pull the aggro unless they start trying to do this a little too soon. And trust me, the very last thing you want to do is pull aggro on a giant ship like this, because you will get smoked almost right away. The other things that are going to get you smoked is shooting before you get that scan off, accidentally shooting a friendly target, and if any of those things happen, Commander, well, it sucks to be you. Dying at any time means you lose all the bounty money that you've collected up to that point. Realistically, you only have to do this mooching method until you've saved up enough bounties to earn yourself about 2 million credits. That will be enough money to get us into our very next ship, which will help springboard us into the end game where we can buy the very, very best ships within Elite Dangerous Odyssey. Now, Commander, realistically, when you come out here to do this mooching method, you're only going to be out here for maybe 10 minutes unless you get super duper greedy. I kind of got a little greedy because that's how I work. But hey, you know, having a little extra money is definitely better than not having enough money when you need it, so, you know, might as well be a little bit greedy, I suppose. Commander, it's also worth mentioning, anytime if you get paranoid that you're going to make a mistake and die, you can go drop all these bounties off at the nearest space station, then come back until you have enough money. Realistically though, don't get overly paranoid about dying. As long as you do it the way I've explained it and showed it, you're going to be completely safe. This should be our last ship here. I have definitely got way more money than I need, but like I said earlier, it's better to have too much than not enough. Just got here a few minutes ago and it's time to leave already, but 5 million credits richer. Commander, it is worth mentioning that I have a 0 balance right now. In order to make this playthrough cool and exciting for me, I'm going to start with 0 space bucks. As soon as you land at the space station, either here at Lamrak Orbital or over in the newbie section at Drami, head over to the contact section. From there you want to hit administrative contact, and then we're going to scroll on down till we get to the bounty vouchers. There we go, that's a 5 million credit payout, which isn't too bad for just a few minutes, but unfortunately, a year and a half later, FDev still hasn't updated the actual payouts, so what it says it's paying you isn't going to be what it's paying you. Once you got all those bounty vouchers cashed in, it's time to head over to the section where you can purchase ships in the shipyard. What we're looking for is the hauler. This ship right here is going to be your gateway to the stars. You are going to earn so daggone much money with this ship, it's almost absolutely disgusting that it's so cheap. Here is the exact loadout I will be using in the hauler to complete our next money-making stage. If you do decide to do this in Nanabozaho, all of the upgrades as well as the ship here is located at Lamrak Orbital, so makes it nice and easy for you. Head inside the nearest space station and locate a Pioneer Supplies near you. What we're going to be doing is purchasing a special suit that's going to help us discover life on planets, and that suit is called the Artemis suit. Once you purchase this suit, you can head over to any of the computer terminals and edit your loadout. You can also do this in your ship or your SRV at any time before you get out. Now that you have your Artemis suit and the glorious hauler, it's time to make a whole bunch more space cheddar. What do you say? Let me show you the ultimate road to riches tool. This is located at spanch.co.uk. It's an amazing tool. You can input your ship's jump range, the radius and light years that you want to search, as well as how many maximum systems that you want to search for. You can change the max distance to arrival, which can save you a whole bunch of time. I recommend 3,000 light seconds or less. When setting your minimum scan value, you do not want to set this really low because it will clog up this list here. What you want to do is make sure that you're searching for planets or moons that are worth at least 100k each. And ironically, in my previous best start, I actually explored quite a few systems using the Spanch tool, so I do have to start a little ways down the list. We have officially arrived in system. Now it is worth mentioning that every single system that I have gone to up until this point, I am using my discovery scanner to scan the systems. According to the Spanch tool, the very first planet as well as the second one are the ones that we're going to want to scan. They are going to be the ones that are worth the most. In order to make that first planet easier to find, we're just going to target it. Commander, there are 3 different types of scanning in Elite Dangerous Odyssey. There is the honking with the discovery scanner. Second one is using the FSS, which I'm showing you right now. Then the third, and the one that pays you the absolute most, is probing the surface. My plan is to complete 10 systems on the road to riches. I'm going to probe every single one of these planetoids that are worth the most. Down at the bottom right hand corner, you're going to notice that there is an efficiency target. If I can actually probe this planet with 6 probes or less, then I'm going to make even more money. But realistically, don't worry about the efficiency target. Just spam a whole bunch of probes and get the planet scanned. We're talking about a little minuscule amount of extra space bones, so don't worry about it. Let's target the second planet to make it much easier to find. Then we're going to fly directly towards it. If you plan to probe the planet anyway, there is no need to use the FSS. You only need to honk, then locate the planet and fly directly towards it. Once you get close enough, it will no longer register as unexplored. Our work is done here. Let's head back over to the Road to Riches tool. I'm going to mark off the next system I'm going to do, as well as the last 2 planets that I did. Clicking on the little page icon is going to copy this system name for me. We can easily type that location in the Search for Galaxy tab, which will quickly pull it up for us, and as you can see, it's not very far away, which is Win. Arrived in system, and you guessed it, the very first thing we're going to do is use our discovery scanner to honk the system. According to the Road to Riches tool, planet number 2 and planet number 4 are the most profitable planets to scan in this system, so that's what we're going to do. And that's all we're going to do, unless there's life here. The same method as before, I'm going to check off the system that I'm fixing to go to, as well as all the planets that I just did. We can paste the new system name back in Elite Dangerous Odyssey, and wow, that one's actually pretty far away, so I'm definitely going to focus on finding life. I think we have a candidate for life here. Now, in order to have life on a planet or moon, it needs to have an atmosphere, which is the glowing bubble around those planets there. Then you'll notice that the half moon shape means that there is a landable surface. Planets or moons like this can mean multiple things. Now, there can be just geological sites down there. There can be biological, which is what we're looking for, or a mixture of both. The best way to determine where you want to land to find life is to actually probe the surface. Then you're going to get a heat map. Now, right there, all bacterium is going to spawn in the blue area. I'm committing a classic blunder here, like a lot of the new explorers are going to be doing in Elite Dangerous Odyssey. They're going to forget to cycle through the signal filter. The signal filter will tell you exactly where you need to go to find specific plants, although a lot of those specific plants don't overlap in each other's biomes, so now you have to hunt and peck everywhere. The other thing I want to mention as we start to prepare for our glide through the atmosphere, you'll notice that there is some grainy, bluish, dark bluer kind of pixelated area. That is an area where you can find the plants, but chances are you're not going to find them very well, and the terrain is going to kind of suck. What you're mostly looking for are these smooth areas that are a kind of a greenish hint to the blue. That is where you're going to want to land to look for your plants. Once you get low enough, just kind of hug the ground and fly nice and slow until you start seeing signs of life. In this case, it looks like there's a group of plants right ahead of us. Not cool. They kind of look like some kind of like space fungus or something. Once you're outside, you can whip out your genetic sampler and then go to town. Basically, they dumbed down the little mini game here and made it super duper easy. Like, you can close your eyes and just hold the button down, and that's basically how you do it. Holding down the left click is how you're going to be able to take samples. Now, if you want to scan for actual life, you're going to have to click the right click button on your mouse if you use mouse and keyboard. Anything that comes back with a blue ping is going to be something that you've already scanned, so you need to go further away for genetic diversity. Do you need an SRV to do this? Why, no you don't, Commander, but it's going to take much longer, so highly recommend that you do this with an SRV. I know I'm basically far enough away for genetic diversity, so I'm going to keep scanning. Now notice how they're starting to turn light blue there? I'm going to scan again. Chances are there's going to be some green ones just ahead of us. Genetic diversity is basically a distance thing based off the last plants that you scanned. You will need to complete 3 successful scans of the exact same plant with different genetic diversity in order to complete the sample data. Make sure that you get all 3 samples of that specific plant before you actually scan a different plant, or you'll have to start over. Made it to our next target system in the road to riches, and according to the Spanch tool, Moon 3A is what we're going to want to be probing, and it looks like we have another candidate for life here. You guessed it, we're going to Proby McProberton, Moon 3A here, for all the space cheddar. Let's use the FSS tool to see if there's any life on that rocky moon there, and oh my goodness, there's 4 biologicals. We're fixing to be rich. We are making basically decent money probing all these planets and moons, but our main goal is to find life. Finding life is where the real money is at, especially if you're lucky enough to find a first-time discovery. That bonus cheddar is really nice. Probing this moon, and the efficiency target is 2 probes. Man alive, this thing is super tiny. Before we head down, let's actually cycle through the signals filter and find out where all this life is located. Chances are there'll be at least one that's not located by the other 3, because that's how things work in Elite Dangerous Odyssey. Although it does look like we're probably going to be able to rake these in super duper quick, just based off the size of this moon. According to the signal filter, 3 of the 4 plants should be spawning in this area that I'm going to be dropping into, and again, you want to look for that kind of slightly greenish blue smooth surface. That will be your very best location to locate the plants that you're looking for according to the filter selection. Let's fly low and slow again once we've gotten down to the moon's surface, and why looky there, I can already see different varieties of plants starting to pop in. Man, this is going to be super duper easy. One of the things I love about any space game is the ability to go to strange new worlds and then discover life, man. I'm telling you, that right there gives me a total and complete space boner. Here's the thing though, what Elite Dangerous offers is basically what it offers. Now you have the ability to have some really cool space scenery in the background, however, it's just a shame that the majority of the gorgeous space scenery that happens to happen in the background is on barren planets or moons. You will have those moments where you look up in the sky, Commander, and man, I'm telling you, space looks so good. You look down at the surface again and then remember where you are. At least for me, the majority of the really cool space eye candy moments still happen on the way to the planet's surface, not so much on the surface itself. Don't go thinking I'm bagging too hard on the experience of going out and discovering life, because it's actually quite enjoyable. The only problem is I feel that the minigame itself is now far too simple. I mean, you just hold down the left trigger button until the sample is complete. Before, you used to actually have to line everything up, and it was kind of fun. I mean, it was fun after they kind of nerfed it a little bit, because in the beginning it was pretty brutal. Next up to bat is this patch of bacteria here. Now, they all basically look the same, doesn't matter what planetary surface that you're on. A lot of commanders complain that these patches of bacteria are really hard to find, especially at night. Now, I don't like to look for anything at night, but let me show you a few tips that are going to make things easy. First off, utilizing your third-person camera mode is so extremely powerful when you're out here looking for life. That's like beyond words. So here, let me show you. First, get up nice and high and then just kind of look around. It makes finding whatever you're looking for so much easier. And it looks like there's another patch of bacteria right over there. There's another trick that you can use with the third-person camera mode that helps finding life even easier and much quicker, but I'll show you that later here on another moon in just a bit. For now, we need to snag up the last bit of data that we need for this bacteria sample. Now, the next place we're going to have to go is going to be in really rugged terrain, so showing you this next trick is going to kind of suck there. Back up in orbit, if you're having trouble finding the plant that you're looking for, your very best bet is to head over to this tab and look for the name that does not appear. So far, we have discovered tussock, bacterium, and tubus. Looking for the name that didn't appear in that list, and that is most definitely it. Frutexa, here we come. Based off the heat map, I can tell that this plant is probably going to be located near some rocky outcroppings and a higher elevation. Now, we don't know what this plant looks like. We definitely know it's not a bacterium, and you know what that looks like. We're just going to fly around until we find any signs of life. There's a high probability that this plant doesn't share the same biome as the other three life forms, and now it kind of looks like that grass we found before, but there are slight differences. Seeing as how I basically landed on top of this patch, it's going to be really easy to tell, and yeah, they kind of look like ferns, not so much like grass. You know how this is going to pan out. I'm going to now close my eyes and hold down the trigger button. Eventually it's going to scan because it's literally that easy. We'll go a little ways away in our SRV, find genetic diversity, scan that, then find this other patch here and scan that. Now we have this sample completed. We probed this little bitty moon, found that there was 4 biologicals on it, and scanned every single one of them. I cannot wait to see how much we get paid. This next tip I'm about to show you is the one I use all the time, especially when you have a really nice smooth surface without so many rocks and jagged edges everywhere. Driving around in your SRV in a fixed camera position where it's kind of like the Diablo mode really helps you be able to find things easy. There's some bacteria right there. As you saw, any kind of rugged terrain will bounce the camera mode around, so just keep that in mind. For filming purposes, I might as well film in daylight, not to mention it makes these things a lot easier to find, when you can actually see them. In the pitch black, it's like a waste of time. The other thing I will mention, since we have the SRV here, it would be super cool if you can put out that plant scanning pulse wave, from the inside of your SRV. It would be super duper cool, FDev. Love you guys. I mean, if, you can make that possible, it would be glorious, because it totally and completely doesn't make sense to me that I have to get out of my SRV and then go over there and make sure I have genetic diversity before I try to gather a sample. In my opinion, that would be a really great quality of life change for commanders who wish to do this. Now, looky there, I got a first footfall confirmed. That is really cool, and that guarantees this is a first-time discovery. You guessed it, more driving around in third-person Diablo mode, finding these samples super quick. Now, a lot of commanders think that a first footfall on a planet or moon is really rare, and honestly, it's not. As you can see, I'm doing the Road to Riches, which is something that is definitely posted, starting and going to systems that everyone goes to that have been mapped for quite some time. And there we go, a very first footfall moment. At this point, I hope you know how to scan planets and moons, as well as find life on these surfaces. From now on, I'm going to complete the remainder of the road to riches off camera, and we're going to head to my very favorite system where we're going to start our next journey. Just completed my last planetary probing. It is now time to head to my favorite system, which is Diaguandri. This is one of the very next best things besides Shannara Desra. This place has a very good selection of ships as well as modules at a discount because it's located in Lee Young space. Let's click on the system map really quick. As you can see, this place is definitely popular. It is packed with a whole bunch of fleet carriers right now. Ray Gateway is super easy to find. As you can see, it's basically the only space station in this system. I highly recommend, Commander, if you enjoy looking for life, instead of flying just directly there, why don't you just check each system along the route to see if there's any possibilities of life, and if there are, go ahead and scan them up because it is well worth it. In the interest of saving time though, I'm just going to head straight to Diaguandri, although I will be honking each and every system with my discovery scanner. Honking will pay the least and I won't have the chance of finding any life, but I will get to the next method sooner. Honked every system on the way to Ray Gateway, and man oh man, Commanders, life was everywhere. I mean, like, I probably would have got paid like an absolute obscene amount of money if I would have done it, but you know, I'm trying to record this best start video and get it out to you as soon as I can, so in the interest of time, I'm gonna get paid less. Welcome to Ray Gateway. You ever need to do engineering later down the road? This place has an encoded material trader, so yeah, you'll be coming here to trade down some mats. We're still sitting at about 2.7 million after our mooching. Now we're going to head over to Universal Cartographics. We're going to turn in all this data. It is worth noting that you cannot turn in any scan data that is closer than 30 light years range. It does look like we're basically going to be making about 8 million bones for all of our hard work. Well, if we're going to get paid what it says we're going to get paid. And then you're like, Hawks, bro, you like totally wasted all your time. You literally spent a couple hours doing this for like 8 million bones, and then you didn't even get paid the 8 million bones that the game said it was going to pay you. You got paid less, so you know, that seems like a big fat waste of time, am I right? We just got paid for all the honks with the discovery scanner, all the FSS scans that we did, as well as the probing. We now need to disembark from our ship, head inside the space station here, and then check out Vista Geonomics to turn in all of our scan data there. The place is really hard to miss. It basically looks like a futuristic hospital, but this is where we're going to turn in our lifeform data. Keep in mind, Commander, I only started searching for life once I got to the very first system in the Road to Riches. That quest for life stopped on the 10th system in the Road to Riches, and I didn't check out any other life forms that I found on the way back to Diaguandri. Believe me, if I had, it would have been well worth it because we ended up making over 50 million in what I just found right here, which is pretty awesome. Congratulations, Commander Hawks Gaming, you are the first to log the following lifeforms, which netted you quite a bit of extra profit along your journey while discovering, you know, little bitty lifeforms. All these awesome feels are dashed upon the rocks when you realize that 50 million plus 25 million plus 9 point whatever million does not add up to 75 million. Anyways, for a few hours of effort for a total and complete space noob who has no money, this is half decent money. Not the best money in the game, but it's good money. Starting with 0 space bucks and a sidewinder, a couple hours later we exploited the hauler and how awesome it is for exploring and finding life. It is now time to buy my very favorite ship in the entire universe, the glorious Python. Spending a whole bunch of money after making a whole bunch of money is what I always say, am I right? So we might as well fork out all of our money buying one of the very best medium class ships in the game, if not the very best. In my opinion, it is the very best. Other notable ships that you will definitely want to buy at some point is going to be the Diamondback Explorer as well as the Asp Explorer. That ship is totally awesome, probably my second favorite ship. I can hear it now in the background. Commanders are like, bro, you said the Python's the best ship, but you know, there's the Fertile Ants and it kicks a whole bunch of butt. Well, I like to kick butt, but I also like to make money, and making money is more important when you're trying to progress, so I'm going to go ahead and grab the glorious Python. Next thing I'll be showing you is laser mining, Commander. So in 4 of my hard points, I'm gonna have these 2D mining lasers. In utility mounts, you can leave this blank if you want. I have 2 heat sink launchers. For core internals, try to A-rate everything. Unfortunately, I couldn't do my thrusters. You can go with D-rated life support as well as sensors. For optional internals, go with this load that I have right here, although you can go for a better fuel scoop and swap out for a smaller shield. Definitely make sure you have an A-rated prospector limpet. That's super important, Commander. Before we go out to make millions upon millions of space bucks doing some laser mining, there is something that like every commander forgets to do. Hell, I even forget to do it from time to time. That's making sure to purchase limpets before you fly all the way out there and then go, oh my god, and have to land on a carrier and go through all that drama to buy limpets from there. So just make sure that you have enough before heading out. Next, you'll want to find a really good mining location, so that's where edtools.cc/miner comes into play. We're all geared up to do platinum mining, and if you want to, you can even put in the cell location that you researched in advance. I'm going to be going to Chi Orion's as long as that's the best cell location when we're done mining. In this video, I'll be showing you the Col 285 sector, although I highly recommend that you go to Omicron Capricorni B, just because it's generally closer to the really good cell locations, and that means faster trips for you when you're out there mining. Clicking on the notepad will copy the name, then you can paste it in the Search the Galaxy. Well, check that out. We have to go pretty far, and that's actually quite a distance when you don't have an engineered ship. Before you take your brand new glorious Python out of that mail slot, make sure that you have enough money to afford a rebuy, because I'm serious, if you wreck your ship and blow up somehow, you can't afford to buy it back. You are going to be completely butthurt. Never fly without a rebuy, especially in an expensive ship. Now, we can afford to lose the hauler, but we can't afford to lose the Python. According to the Miner's Tool, our double overlapping platinum hotspot is located on the 5th planet in this system here. Looks like a gas giant, and it says it's in Ring A. Ring A means it will be in the inner rocky ring. So this is basically like scanning the planet. You have to use your detailed surface scanner, although we're going to be scanning the rings, and since this one has 2 rings, we'll need to scan the inner ring as well as the outer ring. Once your scans go off, all the hot spots will appear, which, you know, is really handy because it'll show you exactly where you need to go mining, because if you don't mine in a hotspot, you're kind of wasting your time, Commander. To easily find the hotspots we're looking for, just look for the 2 platinum hotspots that are right next to each other in target 1. That way you'll know exactly where to go. Whenever I'm mining, I like to fly towards the planet for all the beautiful space scenery opportunities, so I'm going to put myself right in the middle of both of these hotspots and look for a bright yellow band to drop into. After you drop in, you can start heading down towards the asteroid belt to start set up for mining. Just keep in mind, you need to make sure that these pirates scan you, then go amongst their business before you start bringing any ore on board. For my primary fire group, I have all my collectors as well as my mining lasers on 1, then my prospector on 2. Well, I took a short break because the servers were fixing to come down in a little bit, so here we are again. I let the pirates scan me. Now we're ready to do a little bit of prospecting to see if we can find any platinum in these asteroids. Looks like the first rock has a 27%. Now that's not super bad, although in a double overlapping platinum hotspot you can find up to almost 70%. It's like 69, like the highest percentage you're going to find. We might even find some of those in this field. Our second rock is a 44, with the first one being a 27. That's not too super bad considering those are the first rocks we prospected. Before you start mining, make sure that you put all pips to weapons. That way you can actually shoot your lasers for much longer, which will mean you can get these rocks mined much quicker. After I suck the rock dry, I like to kind of hang out near all the fragments. Right up until that moment I get the no valid collection targets message, then I head towards the next prospected rock. Since you have a 3A collector limpet, you can always have at least 2 rocks prospected, so it's always a good idea to have one mining and one on deck that has a good percentage ready to go. Some of these rocks you come across will be really oddly shaped and rotating. Some will be spinning like really quickly. Now, in order to save your little bitty collector limpet lives, you need to try to match the rotation of the asteroid itself. Try to keep your lasers focused on the center point that the asteroid is rotating around. That will keep your collector limpets relatively safe. Well, they do have a death wish. About 30 minutes later, we're totally loaded to the gills with platinum in our hold as well as in our refinery. Now, we're going to go sell this stuff as long as we don't get interdicted and bucked down by pirates. Before you sell on some random system, you want to make sure you get the best price, so head over to anara.cz, click on data, then the commodities tab. After that you can enter platinum and then you'll do your search. Well, it looks like the best prices have an ungodly distance that you have to travel from the start of the sell location, so that's not going to happen, and some of these don't really have enough demand, so, Took the time to grab myself another glass of unsweetened tea, the nectar of the gods, decided to do another search, and why looky there, just right now, a really good demand with a really good price, so thinking I'm going to be going there. Yeah, definitely going to be going there. That moment when you're crossing your fingers hoping it's not really super far away, and, I guess it could be worse. That's probably about 13 or 14 jumps. Yep, 13 jumps away. At this point, Commander, you have several million credits worth of platinum on board, meaning that pirates are going to want to try to totally and completely extort you or buck you down, so you need to be careful. You might get interdicted, you might not. Before that'll happen, though, you'll get a message in the upper left-hand corner. It's always going to be a rumor about how much loot you have on board. So as soon as you see that message, stop whatever you're doing and immediately FSD the heck on out of there, if you can. Yep, made it all the way here, although I did get multiple messages, I never got interdicted. Now let's head over to Universal Cartographics and sell all this honk data that we made on the way there and on the way back. Now it's not a lot, but platinum is so good to mine because it's one of the most stable resources. Now the price doesn't wildly fluctuate really high and really low, it stays relatively stable. You can count on this income every hour of the day whenever you feel like mining. You just need to know where to sell your product, and that's where Anora.cz comes in clutch. Laser mining for platinum is totally chill and relaxing, so why don't we do something that's a bit more exciting? What do you say, Commander? We'll be doing core hunting looking for monazite in a low resource extraction site, so it should be interesting. For the core mining with teeth build, you're going to want to have 2 size 3 beam lasers as well as 1 giant multi-cannon for your center turret. Then you'll need at least 1 seismic charge launcher and an abrasion blaster. Utility mounts are pretty simple. I left my heat seek launcher in there, and you definitely will need a pulse wave analyzer to do core mining. For core internals, everything's basically the same except for I had to upgrade to a 6A power plant, and I finally upgraded to 6A thrusters. Cha-ching! So everything basically stays the same here as well, although I did swap around my fuel scoop and my shield. I have a 4A fuel scoop now and a 3A shield. I can just about guarantee that this is going to come and bite me in the ass later. Oh yeah, I'm thinking a 4A shield, probably would have been much better. So this will be slightly dangerous, and I hope I don't get a little too greedy and it gets me killed. The battle cry is research, so I headed back over to Anora.cz to check prices on monazite, and it looks like there is a half-decent amount of demand with a really decent price. Like 700k isn't too super bad. Now that we know we're fixing to get hooked up fat, let me show you another webpage that helps you track down really good places to do some core mining, as well as laser mining. It's called edmining.com. You can input the material that you're actually looking to mine. In our case, it's going to be monazite. That happens to be a core material, and if you even care, you can look for double or whatever overlaps. I care because I'm more lucky there. I don't care what anyone says. I do what I want. Let's head over to HIP 115094 and see if we can make it out of there in one piece. Maybe we'll strike it rich, and maybe we'll get blown into complete and total space dust. I reckon I'll have to scan these rings if I plan on mining here. These 2 monazite hotspots are right next to each other, and smack dab right in the middle of that is a low resource extraction site. This should be glorious. As long as something doesn't go horribly wrong. Foreshadowing. As soon as you drop in, just let the pirates scan you. They won't give a crap about you as long as you don't have anything valuable in your hold. For my primary fire group, I have my pulse wave analyzer set to 1 and my prospector set to 2. What I'm doing is pulsing my pulse wave analyzer. I'm looking for any bright rocks in the distance that have a specific shape, and that one right there is a very good candidate for a core asteroid. If it's a core, it'll get brighter and brighter the closer we get. It's not going to kind of fizzle out on us. You'll see that later in the video, hopefully. But yeah, that looks like a core in a rocky ring. These cores will always look exactly like this. It's kind of like a space potato. I can tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt that that is a core asteroid. Now, we don't know if it's monazite. It's not a guarantee, even though you're mining in a hotspot. It can be some other type of rocky core. Now, hopefully it is monazite, because that's generally worth the most. Dun dun dun. Yep, definitely monazite. That makes me happy. And sweet, we even have some nearby space popos to have our back. For my second fire group, I have seismic charge launchers on 1 and collector limpets as well as my abrasion blasters on 2. Target any fisher you want. This one happens to be a low strength fisher, and put a full charge into that fisher. The longer you hold down the trigger button, the stronger the charge. Target another fisher, and as long as it's not a low strength fisher, put another max charge into that fisher. At this point it gets super easy. All you have to do is find another low strength fisher and then just tap it. Put a very light charge into it. This in most cases will give you the optimum detonation yield that you need to crack these core asteroids. All that's left to do now is just kind of back off a little bit so we can witness the total and completely glorious space explosion. And if you're impatient like me, head over to your contacts panel and pick any one of those charges to detonate. Here it comes! It's really close! Man, that was a good explosion. Once you crack the core, the main fragments will kind of start drifting apart from each other, and that makes farming up all these monazite chunks that are stuck to the rock's surfaces much easier. There really isn't anything to it. I mean, you just kind of blow the chunks off and just sit around and wait for your collectors to collect them up, and why, looky there, just a little bit off to the right hand side, that's gonna be another core over there. As we approach this core here, kind of check out all the other rocks that are lighting up in the background, and notice as we get closer to them how they react compared to this core right here. In Elite Dangerous Odyssey, when you are doing core mining, there is literally no question about it when you discover a core. You don't have to waste your prospector limpets, it's always easy to tell. All rocky ring core asteroids will look like the space potato, and icy ring cores look like a piece of popped popcorn. So all you really have to do is remember those two exact shapes and go off the luminosity. There is no other rock that will light up that bright when you get this close to it. This is definitely a core. Let's just cross our fingers and hope it's monazite. Dun dun dun, it is monazite, and we are getting scanned by pirates right now. It's like the second he tried to shoot me once, all these space popos looked at him and just totally crapped on his face. Alright, so this time we're going to set up a choke scenario. I'm going to put a full charge into the first fisher, I'm going to put a full charge into the second fisher, and then instead of just tapping it on the third one, I'm going to hold it down for just a little bit and let it go. That's going to cause us to choke. When this happens to you, because it's going to happen to you, head over to your contacts panel and then target that last asteroid fisher that you were doing and then disarm the charge. Disarming the charge will take about 10 seconds. Now the big thing is don't panic and don't rush, because that's when you're going to make mistakes. Just stay calm and collected and take your time. You'll definitely get it. Not quite sure if I've eaten enough sandwiches yet, but here it goes. Let me catch my breath, like that never gets old. That awkward moment when mistakes were made, I decided to keep cracking this rock while everyone was kicking my butt. Realized it was more than one ship, and then I decided to try to fight. By that point it was a little bit too late, and there were no space popos around to come rescue me. Remember that whole, stay calm and everything's gonna work out speech I gave you a little while ago? Well, I'm sitting here trying to fight these pirates with all my pips basically to engines. Yeah, I don't have anything to weapons, and I definitely don't have anything to systems to keep my shields up longer, so I'm just asking to get my butt kicked. He bravely ran away, brave Sir Hawks. He could try and fight, but he was greedy. He ended up getting his ass kicked, so now he's gotta run away like brave Sir Hawks. Brave Sir Hawks. Now, at least we made it to the cell location in one piece. We didn't fill up all the way, but it's, better than dying and having to pay a rebuy, losing all of our loot. Man, I didn't get paid that much for Honked Out this time. Going to any resource extraction site in a hotspot will give you a better chance at finding the cores, although you will have the hassle that you kind of saw me do, which was all born out of greed, because if I was prepared for that fight, I would have been just fine. If we would have filled up our hold, we would have made 134 million, not just 34 million. Once you save up enough space cheddar, it is time to buy the Type 9 Heavy. This ship is going to earn you just about the most amount of money per hour that is possible with an Elite Dangerous Odyssey. We'll be doing trading next, so you will not need any hard points whatsoever. If we get in a scrape, we're going to run away. For utility mounts, you can leave it blank or go with at least one heat sink launcher. For your core internals, you will want to A-rate absolutely everything except for your life support and your sensors. You can leave those D-rated. Doing trading, the name of the game is cargo space, so you're going to want as many cargo racks as possible. Now, shields are optional. Just make sure to cater to your inner space laziness and get yourself an advanced docking computer as well as a Super Cruise assist. You'll thank me later. The only ship in the game that can do this better than the Type 9 would be the Imperial Cutter. It's faster, has a longer jump range, and holds more cargo, but you don't have to grind any faction. So, Commander, this next thing I'm going to show you, don't tell anybody because it's our secret. Before I share that secret with you, it is worth mentioning that I recently made a video on how to trade to billions already in the recent update for Elite Dangerous Odyssey. It is worth a watch, although it will not earn you as much money as the secret will earn you. To start the first stage of the secret, you need to head over to inara.cz. You're going to click on data, then search for nearest. From there, it'll take you to another page. You want to click on the minor factions tab. It's very important that you check the boxes of just controlling factions as well as just player factions. For minor faction state, you want to look for any factions that are in expansion. Click on view additional items, and then you want to set the economy type to agriculture. For populations, we only want to look for systems that have a population of 1 billion or more citizens. Once you click the search button, it's going to pull up a whole bunch of player-run factions that own systems with the exact criteria that you search for in Inara. The heart of the secret is finding a really active player-run faction that is constantly in an expansion state, and as you can see, some of these people are expanding into multiple star systems. But realistically, that's not enough. You need to dig a little bit deeper, so click on the States tab. Let's check out this active tab here. Now, you only want to scout out systems that are in expansion alone or in a very specific situation that I'm going to show you in a second. You do not want to do it in boom, famine, outbreak, anything like that, blight. None of those systems you want to do it in because they'll have extra missions that'll give you less of the missions that we're after. Alright, Commanders, it's secret time. Now, you want to keep looking at all those player-run factions until you find a faction that is actually in a state that is in a bust as well as an expansion at the exact same time. You definitely want to make sure that system is an agriculture system with over 1 billion population, because that is going to give you the very, very best mission selection possible. Here is another player-run faction right here, Olympus Trading Court. They are in agriculture. I'm checking in systems with 1 billion or more population that are in expansion. They are also in bust in that system right there. Arrived in system, Riders of the Void is definitely confirmed in expansion. Before I start raising my faction, I just want to check to make sure that the economy state is still in bust, and yep, it's definitely in bust. If only I would have spent a little bit of time doing this research before we went on that Road to Riches exploration trip. I could have sold all of my scan data here, giving me instant ally status with Riders of the Void here, but instead I'm just going to take the crappy slower way out and do the donation method. This highlights why you want to do your research first, looking for the perfect system with the perfect system state in expansion, because it is a little bit time consuming. It's going to take me about an hour to get ally with these people. Flying to the next station, looking at the beautiful space scenery while I look for more of those donation missions. I guess the good news is there are plenty of large stations in this system where I can land this flying football stadium, so this shouldn't take me very long. I guess I could cut out all the reputation grind with this faction, but I think it's important to let you know that you kind of have to work for it. I mean, I know it feels like we're pissing our money away, millions upon millions upon millions later in donations, but realistically I've only landed at 3 stations now, and we've already got friendly status. At this point, we might as well start checking for missions. Now, I don't see anything I really like yet, although this Cobalt mission right here, if I take it, it will give us some reputation, which will help us get ally quicker. Now, well, might as well do it. We can complete this in one trip in the Type 9 Heavy. You can also get some really nice engineering mats as well if you're not interested in just making a whole bunch of money. Now that we know where our cell location is, we will need to find other systems to purchase specific materials that these special mining missions are going to want. You guessed it, we're back to Inara again. In the commodity section, you want to search for Endite. You also want to open up a tab for Gallite, Bertrandite, as well as Cobalt. To a lesser extent, you can do this with silver, gold, and palladium, although palladium's super expensive. Cycle through all your tabs, you're going to notice that a lot of the exact same systems are popping up and they'll have a decent price, so these are the systems you'll want to go to. Mostly it's going to be that very top system. Agriculture systems have a high probability of having these missions. Now, if I'm going to go to, say, this system here, it's an extraction system. They don't want this stuff because they're selling it, so they won't have the right missions. I think the most ironic thing is I'm talking about how glorious this method is, and all you see me do is shell out money and take another mission that's not even the right type of mission. On top of that, this low-paying mission I'm doing for reputation is basically a threat level 8. I'm gonna get interdicted up the yin-yang. Now, if this was the right type of mission that was a mining mission instead of a box mission, it would pay out in the neighborhood of about 30 to 40 million. Doing that wing mission solo, you'll have to complete it in 2 trips because they generally want anywhere between 800 and 1500 cobalt. For this mission though, we need to spend a little over 2 million to make 5.3 million. That blows goats. I don't even know how I didn't get interdicted doing this mission, but anyways, I'll take it. When you're ready to drop off your load, Commander, just click on the mission depot there. Then click on the delivers item tab. From there, you can actually select how much you want to drop off. In our case, we want to drop it all off so we can get this crap out of our hold so we can get more missions. You're now free to collect your reward. I probably should have got the embedded modified firmware since this is barely any profit and, I would have only made $1 million, but I would have got some more engineering mats anyways. While we're at it, we might as well check for some missions here. Now, I see some Bernatrandite right down there. Had I been ally status, that probably would have paid 50 million space bones. Now, we'll just take this as it is because 35 million is actually not too bad considering we're just friendly right now. Snagging up the Bernatrandite, looks like we're going to have to spend about 9.6 million to make 35 million. That's not too bad considering this is going to take about 15 minutes. That's going to come out to about 25.4 million in profits for 15 minutes of work doing this round trip. Now, that's not too bad at all. But seriously, you haven't seen nothing yet. Once we finally get around to getting allied status with these people, they'll start hooking us up left and right with the right missions, and finally, we'll have the possibility of making more money per hour than basically any other commander out there. I'm just thankful this mission offered me some reputation. Up to this point, I've completed 6 more donation missions, then I took a really profitable gold side mission, then this happened. Alright, well, looks like we're going to get interdicted this time, not once but twice because we have 2 warning messages. This should be really fun. Sometimes you're going to get the feeling that trying to avoid these interdictions in a Type 9 Heavy is like trying to fly a football stadium through the atmosphere of Jupiter. Yeah, at least this NPC is kind of sucking at his job. I should be able to get out of this with relative ease. Got out of that one and then we're right back into the other one. It seems like they're lining up to totally and completely steal all of my loot. Alright, well, that last NPC kind of sucked, but this one's kind of kicking me in the teeth right now. If I don't pull this off, worst case scenario, I'll get blown up. I'll have to pay for a rebuy in this really expensive ship, and I'll also lose my investment in the gold that I just purchased. Basically, it's like asking Mr. Horse how he feels about falling out a 2-story window and breaking all 4 of his legs. Yeah, it's not so much fun. Made it back to the station, and I would say I made it by the skin of my teeth, but everybody knows it's my mad skills in being able to run away from a fight. Now, this is basically facts. 99 out of 100 commanders agree that Twilight was the greatest movie ever created. The greatest movie quote in history comes from the 3rd movie when Marcus is getting ripped to pieces. He holds his arms out and goes, "Finally." Here's a mission that's going to pay us 42 million for 872 units of Indite. I took the opportunity to go use the little space boys room as well as grab some more unsweetened tea. The board's about to refresh here in a little bit, and looky there. They want to pay us 50 million for 876 units of Bernatrandite. Board's just refreshed 25 seconds ago. Let's see if we can find any more missions. And, of course there's another 50 million unit payout for some more Bernatrandite. That's actually not too bad. Those 3 missions right there represent about 125 million in profits, which can be completed in a little bit over an hour, which is definitely good money. Now, what makes this absolutely outrageous money is when you do this with friends. Imagine you and 3 other friends all have ally status here. You can either decide to help each other to guarantee these larger missions can be completed in one trip, Or each of you can focus on completing your own missions that pay out 50 million like crazy. Just before you complete your mission, you share it with all your friends. Now they also get to cash in on 50 million. Basically what that turns into is the ability to make either 120 million in a little over an hour solo or over 400 million an hour with 3 other friends. You will not only be sharing missions with your friends, they will all also be sharing them with you, so this is going to have a huge snowball effect. All my love to my Patrons and YouTube channel supporters, each of you make this job possible. I love you all. I guarantee if you found this video helpful, you're going to love this next one.